Welcome back to What's the Score. We're going to continue the show by talking about the undermanned, undersized, but hard-fighting Houston Rockets.
Coming into the season, most of us, we can all expect that the Rockets were going to be lottery bound, but they've been surprising and they're already in the 8th playoff spot out of the West.
Yeah, for more insight, we bring in Adam Wexler, host of In the Morning on 790 AM right here in Houston. Adam, I want to jump right into it. This season, the Rockets became a fast break team. You know, they had injuries to Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady, but lately they've struggled. They've lost 11 of their last 18. What's the problem?
They got off to a great start this year, and I think as time has gone on, teams have caught up with them a little bit. They've got a chance to see more tape. You know, they got a lot of young players fitting in together, Ariza, Brooks, Landry, Lowry, and I think as time has gone on, the Rockets have had to figure out different ways of outclassing these teams. At the beginning of the year, I think it was a little bit easier. They worked hard. They were doing things other teams were not expecting. In the offseason, they said they were going to run, but none of the other teams had seen them do it before. A little bit against the Lakers late last year when Yao went down and there was no Tracy McGrady, but now there's also no Ron Artest. And I think it really took a lot of teams a little bit by surprise, and that's why they got off to such a good start. They've remained fairly competitive. They just haven't been winning a lot of those games lately that earlier in the year they got W's.
Now, backup point guard Kyle Lowry and Ariza, they've been saddled with injuries this season. Is that much of a concern that the Rockets should be about their injuries?
Kind of hard to believe you would describe this year's Rockets team as relatively healthy when two of their big salary players are sitting on the sidelines and have been all year and will be all year. But for the most part, the rotation they began the year with is the rotation they've been able to use almost the entire year. A minor injury to Budinger earlier this year, and Ariza, a minor injury. All-Star break probably hits at a good time where he might not miss any real action, maybe one game. Lowry's a little bit more significant, and unfortunately not only the injury is more significant, but I think his role with that second unit is just so vital to what they're doing. Their second unit has been such a huge part of, taking either slow starts or moderate leads or even deficits and kind of turning games around in the second quarter. And again, the whole question of, is he a starter or is he a bench guy? To me, it's more important who's there on the court at the end of the game. And Ariza and Lowry, for the most part this year, especially recently, these guys have been on the court in the fourth quarter at the end of games. That ought to show you the value to this team. So anytime they missed, it's pretty important.
Adam, the only major free agent move the Rockets made this offseason, as you know, was the signing of Trevor Ariza from the Lakers. We're halfway into the season. How do you think Ariza is fit in with the Rockets?
Well, again, if it comes down to Ariza or Artest, I'll do the Ariza deal 100 times over and 100 more times after that. You're 1 year into a 5-year deal. He's making good money for this year's team because not a lot of players are making more. But as they go out and either re-sign players like Yao or go out and try to land somebody in free agency or make a deal, those are the players that are going to be up that ladder on the salary scale. It's a very, I think, team-friendly deal. He has a lot of room for improvement, obviously. I think there are areas of his game that I've been impressed with, but it's just not as consistent as they need it to be. He needs to recognize the shots to take. The team keeps telling him to take threes, even though he's not shooting a good percentage. So he's following along with that. It helps to spread things out a little bit. He's got to be there every night in the other areas, though. He's got to contribute defensively. He's got to steal the basketball and get out on the break and finish. He can be a better finisher at the goal than he has been so far. That's an area I think you're going to see the most improvement the remainder of this year and over the next several years of his deal. But again, getting him to the Rockets with what they hope to do in the future, yeah, I'd do that deal again.
Now, Joey Dorsey, they just called him up from the Grand Valley Vipers. He's been playing. He's got a lot of playing time a lot lately. He's a bit undersized in the front court. Are you see Dorsey being given an opportunity to contribute?
I think you'll see Joey Dorsey play a little bit more. He's a guy that actually can bring some size without being tall to the Rockets team. Not a very physical team off the bench up front. You just have Carl Landry really bringing physical play. And, David Anderson was a real nice player overseas, and I think had a real nice start to his Rockets career. And each and every game, each and every week and month, I think his production has gone down a little bit. It's not a lack of confidence, but I think teams have realized the certain little nuances to his game, and you take those away, and his effectiveness has gone down dramatically. It was about time to at least give Dorsey an opportunity. You have him here. His contract does run out at the end of the season, so you might want to see more of him just to get a better idea of what you think he can do for this team. I think he can help this team with how they're constructed now and find out if there's a way for either him to help you down the road, be an asset to somebody else. He doesn't make a whole lot of money, so no real need to look at him from a trade perspective. But you got about 30 games to go. The way I would see it is absolutely I would continue to give him minutes, 15 to 20 a night. He might end up being that second big off the bench, taking over the minutes for David Anderson.
Now, Adam, here's a question everybody wants to know. What are the Rockets going to do with Tracy McGrady?
The closer we get to that deadline, the more likely I think it is they're going to find a taker for McGrady that's to their liking. You know the Knicks are interested. You know Washington wants to dump salary. You know Philly wants to dump salary. And the good thing is there's probably a couple of teams that you can get involved. If there needs to be a third team to make a three-team deal work, the Rockets might actually acquire some players. They end up moving out again because they have easy-to-trade expiring contracts. McGrady's contract is a massive contract. Expiring, yes, but such a big one. It's hard to find matches for it without a third team. But as that day approaches, I think you're going to find a deal. I think Philadelphia, New York, and Washington are definitely at the top of the list. And I'm almost convinced now Philly might be the team they end up working with. And you might see AI, the other AI, the younger AI, Andre Iguodala, in a Rockets uniform.
Now, Adam, we know you are a proud graduate of University of Texas. Tell me, what's been up with the Longhorns basketball team?
Got off to a heck of a good start, all the way to -- 1 for the Longhorns this year, but the Big 12 was supposed to be difficult, and it has proven to be just that. You got two of the best teams in the country, I still think, in Kansas and the Longhorns, but Baylor. And I definitely think Texas A&M is in that group, and obviously K-State belongs. You have 5 legitimate Sweet 16 caliber teams. In the case of the Longhorns, they've hit a stretch where they don't know what roles they're playing. They've got one guy in Damian James who's been fantastic this year. They really don't have any other consistent play. They're young players. One night Bradley's good, one night Brown's good, another night Hamilton's good. Pittman has been unable to really establish himself as any kind of force, even though his skills and his power suggest that 25 minutes a night he should be dominating the competition, either in the Big 12 or college basketball in general, and they just haven't found any consistency. They played really well, a big win over Michigan State earlier this year, still their one huge marquee win. A game against Pittsburgh also early in the year they're probably hanging on, but inside the Big 12 they really haven't had a big win, and I think that's going to prevent them from getting a seed that they would like, especially considering it's another year they could have found their way to a Final Four by coming through Houston, since the regionals were going to be here in town, and I don't think that opportunity is going to present itself anymore.
Adam, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you coming in today. We really hope you can come back soon and answer some more questions later on.
My pleasure, guys. Anytime.
We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.